Ever look in the mirror and see your mom's eyes or your dad's smile? Ever wonder why that is? Well, it's not just a coincidence. It's all about heredity. And today we're cracking the code with something called Mendelian genetics. So, here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start with that whole family resemblance thing. Then we'll get into the lingo. You gotta know the terms. After that, we'll get to the cool part, predicting the future. We'll even tackle some advanced genetic puzzles and then wrap it all up with why any of this stuff from the 1800s is still a huge deal today. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the family resemblance. We're talking about the absolute basics here, the core idea of inheritance. So, let's just dive right into that question, right? Why do you look like your parents? I promise it's not magic. It's a real scientific process and it's got a name. And that name is heredity. That's the whole ball game right there. It's this amazing biological handoff of traits from parents to their kids. And believe it or not, this one simple idea is the foundation for everything we're going to talk about. Okay, but if we're really going to get this, we've got to learn the language, right? You can't understand the game if you don't know the rules. So that brings us to Section 2, Genetics 101, our little codebook for traits. All right, there are two words you absolutely have to know: genotype and phenotype. Think of it like this. The genotype is the behind-the-scenes computer code. It's the combination of gene versions, we call them alleles, that you can't see. Then you've got the phenotype. That's what you actually see on the screen, the physical trait, like purple flowers. Code versus result. And check this out. This shows it perfectly. See those letters? That's the genotype. And the actual color of the flower? Bam! That's the phenotype. It's that simple. The hidden code, the letters, dictates what you see on the outside. Okay, so we've got the lingo down. Now things get really interesting. We can actually start making predictions. Welcome to Section 3, where we're going to pull out a tool that's basically a genetic crystal ball, the Punnett square. So what is a Punnett square? It's really just a simple grid, but it's super powerful. It lets us map out all the possible combinations of genes that offspring could get from their parents. It's all about figuring out the odds. And at its heart, it really just comes down to chance. A parent has two versions of a gene, but they're only going to pass one of them on. Which one? It's a 50-50 shot. It's literally like flipping a coin. And making one of these, it's so easy. Seriously. You just draw a little 2x2 grid, slap one parent's genes on the top, the others down the side. Then you just fill in the boxes by combining them. It's kind of like a simple puzzle. Okay, let's see it in action with a classic example from the man himself, Gregor Mendel. So we're crossing two pea plants, and they're both heterozygous, which is just a fancy way of saying they carry one of each allele. So big A is for purple, that's the dominant one, and little a is for white. Now, watch what happens when we fill in the grid. And just like that, a really clear pattern pops out. This is what we call the genotypic ratio, the ratio of the codes. We end up with one big A, two big A little a's, and one little a. See that? A perfect 1 to 2 to 1. But, and this is the key part, remember genotype is the code. Phenotype is what you see. Since that big A for purple is dominant, it overpowers the little a. So any box with at least one big A is going to give us a purple flower. That means we end up with 3 purple flowers for every 1 white one, a 3 to 1 ratio. It's like magic, but it's just science. All right, you've got the basics down pat, you're a pro. So now let's level up and use what we know to solve some trickier genetic puzzles. Okay, here's a good one. You see a purple flower. You know its phenotype is purple, but what's its secret genetic code? Is it a pure purple with 2 dominant big P's? Or is it a hybrid carrying a hidden little p? How in the world can we figure that out? There's a really clever trick called a test cross. Here's what you do. You take your mystery purple flower and you cross it with a white one. Why a white one? Because we know for a fact its genotype has to be little p. Then you just look at the offspring. If even one white flower shows up, boom, the mystery is solved. The purple parent had to be carrying that recessive gene. Okay, so that's tracking one trait. Pretty cool. But let's be real. Life is way more complicated than just one trait, right? What happens when you want to track 2 things at once? Like, say, a sheep's coat color and whether or not it has horns. For that, we need a bigger tool.
the dihybrid cross. Now, I know what you're thinking. It looks huge and kind of scary, 16 boxes instead of just 4, but don't sweat it. The rules are exactly the same. We're just juggling a few more combinations.
And this is where the genius of it all really shines through. If you cross two parents who are hybrids for both traits, this incredible, predictable pattern shows up every single time. It's a 9-to-3 to 3-to-1 ratio of what you see. 9 will show both dominant traits, 3 show one dominant and one recessive, 3 show the opposite combo, and just 1 will show both recessive traits. It's like nature has a favorite formula. So think about how far we've come. We went from just noticing families look alike to building these complex models that predict the future. But why are we still talking about a monk and his garden from the 1800s? Why does it matter? That's what we're going to cover in our final section. You know, what's crazy is that when Gregor Mendel published his work, nobody really got it. It was so revolutionary that it was basically ignored for over 30 years. But when scientists rediscovered it in 1900, it was like a bomb went off. It launched the entire field of genetics. And today, the very same ideas we've been talking about are the bedrock for understanding human diseases, creating gene therapies, the whole shebang. So let's do a quick recap of the awesome genetic toolkit you've just picked up. First, heredity is how traits get passed down. Second, genotype is the secret code, and phenotype is what you see. Third, those Punnett squares are your crystal ball for predicting traits. And finally, dominant alleles are the boss. They can mask the recessive ones. These aren't just facts. These are the fundamental rules of life's code. It's just amazing to think that it all started in a quiet monastery garden with some pea plants. Gregor Mendel handed us the very first key to unlock the code of life itself. He laid down a foundation that scientists are still building on. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the next chapter in our genetic story going to be?